Welcome back to Manly Man Jeep Adventures. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. In the last video I got my blue Jeep running, which I nicknamed Shadow. That was a big accomplishment for me because I bought it not drivable, and getting it running is awesome. Unfortunately, it's not running well enough to be able to drive it yet, so I'm going to keep working on it. Next up is basically to give it a tune-up. Another way to say that is put in a bunch of new parts. And hopefully you can enjoy following along with me. It might not need to be mentioned, but just in the interest of full disclosure, I tightened the belts a bit. They seemed to have loosened up a little after I got things running, and so I thought I'd tighten them, which is just a matter of getting a couple bolts like that one that's right in the center of the screen there loosened up and moving things over a little to get the belts tighter and then tightening it back down again. I'm feeling a little bit procrastinatory, but I do want to start working on these things, so I thought I'd start off with the easiest stuff, which is right now the air cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and get this air cleaner out here, and it's looking like it's probably a good idea to go ahead and replace it with a new one. So we're going to start with that and keep going. I haven't mentioned yet, the last time I had the Jeep running, it ended up overheating and coming to a boil, and so I am going to replace the thermostat next. I've drained out a bunch of the coolant, and I'm going to go ahead and be taking off the thermostat housing here and putting a new one in. I got that housing off and am taking out the old, I cleaned off the edges of the block there where the thing matches up so that it would be smoother right here, and that's the old thermostat that I just took out. I'm gonna put a new one in here, and there we go. We got a new thermostat in, and we'll start putting it back together. I got the thermostat housing off and then ran into I didn't have one of these gaskets, which I don't know, a regular shop might have just thrown it back on there, but you're supposed to replace the gasket. So I decided to go ahead and jump on the bus and get down to auto parts store and get the gasket, which luckily one had. And whoops, that just fell down there. I'll retrieve it later. And while I was there, I also got a new one of these because this was broken. It should be closed there. This little piece right here, oops, it's kind of tightened down. I had tried to tighten it down as much as I could, but wasn't good. That might be partly why it was running rough and stalling out too, actually. Maybe it was disconnecting a little or something. I'm not sure, but got a new one of those, and so now I'm gonna be working on putting this stuff in. I got the new thermostat put in, as you can see by that blue gasket there. Getting the old gasket off that thermostat housing was not easy, but I was able to get it all nice and clean and put in and put back the way it should be. Next thing I did was to take out these spark plugs, which you can see are not in really all that great of condition, so it's probably good to replace them. And I'll see if I can show you in the engine where there are a couple. So there's some just about in the center of the picture, and then if I can show you another one, there's another one just on the very left edge of the picture, kind of back up in that dark spot up in there above the blue little canister. And up next for me is to put in the new distributor cap and new wires. Something I noticed last time, but I went with it the way it was that the manual shows the number 1 spark plug firing order on that distributor cap being just inside that little canister there. And the way that it was when I came to it, the number 1 firing order started there. That's where the spark plug for the number 1 wire was previously, and rather than switch it all up and take all the wires off and move them all around and everything, I just ran with it, made that the top dead center. But since I'm putting in everything new, I'm going to go ahead and try to get it that way and put in my new rotor here and get it aligned properly, hopefully going that way. I have moved the crankshaft to top dead center, and so we'll be kind of starting fresh and see if that makes a difference. To me, this seems like sort of a weird orientation, but who knows what the engineers at AMC were thinking. It's by the book, and I don't know any better way to go than by the shop manual, so I'll go ahead and go with it the way that they say to go, and we'll see how it is. To my dismay, it's become clear I'm an idiot, not only in matters of love and I'm sure other areas, but in mechanical areas too. So I'll show you why I know that for certain. I was putting on these wires that the owner of the previous vehicle had given me, and these spark plugs too. I put the spark plugs in just fine, and then I was putting the wires on and broke off this end on the spark plug, and was like, what's going on? And then I realized, whoops, it should look like that. I did it backwards. Like, I should have used the other end. This is the spark plug end. So yeah, an idiot. Well, as it goes, if you mess up one wire, you have to replace all of them. So I put in a whole new wire set and got one that matched the spark plugs. I did get them all put in, so I think now it's all put together and ready to see if we can start it up again. Next up for me is to work on a radiator flush, and I have a thing of radiator flush here. The instructions say to run the coolant through the heater core for 10 minutes by having the heater on full while the engine is running. And I actually did that previously when I had the car driving it around the block. So the next thing to do is to drain the radiator and then put in this radiator flush and drive the car for a while, which works with what I'm trying to do. I'm going to see if I can do that. Right on, I got the battery hooked up and we'll see if she starts. Running a little better, so we'll go ahead and top off the water and see how it goes. I got the engine running pretty good there. It was even nice and smooth, but then it started overheating. If I'd been a filmmaker, I would have taken some video of that to show you, but I didn't think of that in the moment. I just got the engine cut off so that it wouldn't overheat any further. So that's my next adventure, is to figure out why that's going on. And thanks for being here with me for this one, and I hope to see you in the next one for more Manly Man Jeep adventures.